All right, everyone. What is up? It has been a while. I hope everyone is well. Good morning, Yelena. Awesome to see you here as always. All right, I hope everyone's well. I know I haven't been doing a lot of streams. I've been on a holiday and I've also been very busy, but I'm back. In case you're wondering, I'm not sure if you can see it, but in case you're wondering what that. Let me actually fix one thing here. All right, and I'm back. Just a minor technical adjustment. Mildly gorgeous, what's up? Good to see you here again. All right, if anyone's wondering, I don't know if you can actually see it, but if you're wondering why I have a black eye on one end, it is not because of some cool story. I wish I had a cool story to tell you, but I hit my face with a paddle racket. So yeah, that's that. Okay, it's been a while since I've done a stream. I think it's been a couple of weeks, right? Like I said, I was on holiday, and last week or 2 weeks, I've been very, very busy on the back end of developing Brighter Data. I am super excited actually to release this next version. It's going to take probably 2 or 3 more weeks to finish it. It's a lot of work, but it's going to be a different experience. I'm pretty excited to release it, and it's also been really fun to build it. But the thing is that when I get into states like that, I almost feel like because I know that the next phase is going to be better, so I get less and less inclined to market and or generally showcase the current product because I'm already with my head in the next version, right, which is going to come soon. But it's good to do a stream again, and we're going to talk about some high time frame plans, what I'm looking at, what I think is going to happen, which honestly is still very much the same as what I've been looking at in the last weeks/months, but we're going to dive into things. And as the weeks progress and I start releasing the new version, that's also when I will be more active again on the analysis, also intraday analysis, because then it will also become more exciting for me again to start sharing these things, and then I can really, with a lot of hype, start hyping or using the new improved Brighter Data. So we'll get into that. First of all, let's dive into Bitcoin, right? So these two levels are important, but we're gonna get into those. Okay, I'm gonna do some higher time frame analysis first because it's been a while since I've updated analysis, or at least did some technical analysis. So let's get into that first. If you've been following me, you probably know my thesis. My thesis is still exactly the same. And once again, I'm starting with high time frame because it's important to realize what high time frame is doing. So we had this higher time frame analysis, and shout out, by the way, to if you've been following me, you know that somewhere here I've been, or it was somewhere here, I posted this analysis and said that there will be an intercycle top, or at least that it's looking good for an intercycle top on the Trump inauguration. Now that's playing out. So that high time frame plan is important because it means, well, the most important part of that is what I said is intercycle top, right? This is still my belief that we're in an intercycle top, not a high time frame top, not a bull market top. I do believe we'll go higher. This for me is an intercycle top, and it's not only that now, it's always has been. And I was also waiting for a retracement to happen, right? So we're getting that retracement now. And then the next question is, okay, where are we going? How long does this have to take us? And you probably already know the answer, but for me, this is the structure I'm looking at, right? The weekly structure. And I'm sorry if I sound repetitive and if you've already heard this, but it's good to recap this and simply, that everyone knows what we're talking about. And even then, it's also good to every now and then just recap things so it's fresh in our minds again. But the weekly market structure is up, right? From swing low to swing high, from swing low to swing high, from swing low to swing high right here. And now clearly we are retracing, and that's the main point, right? We're retracing on the high time frame uptrend, and until proven otherwise, we have to assume that this is a retrace, and that once the retrace ends, higher prices are coming after. Now, we were looking for this retrace to happen, and at some point, ever since, well, actually, I was already here. I was saying that these equal lows need to be taken, but then price moved up instead. But then when we came here again, as you might remember, I said, okay, these equal lows look nice, sub 90K probably incoming. This happened quite aggressively. And then as that was happening, I was updating on that, and I was saying I was looking for a retracement. And I see I deleted some of that. I was looking for a retracement in between 87K and 74K pretty much, because statistically, this is the most likely area to put in the bottom. I've shared a post on that on Twitter, so go check that out. And if you cannot find it, let me know, I'll send it. But anyway, I shared statistics on it that statistically it's most likely actually the 0.5. So this yellow area is statistically the most likely area to put in the bottom. The reason is, if we are indeed in this weekly uptrend, and this uptrend must, if this uptrend wants to continue, then for a healthy retracement, price actually does not go to the 618, right? So a lot of people were looking at the 618. I'm not saying it's impossible we get there. I'm not saying it's impossible price goes there and then bounces up. I'm saying that for a healthy uptrend, it's statistically much less likely to do this and then continue up, right? It can happen, but it's much less likely. So if this happens, it's much more indicative of potentially a much longer range or a much longer reversal, or something like that, right? So this is something we have to keep in mind, and therefore I'm saying the bottom, we want to have that in the yellow box and not in the red box, even though a lot of people are looking at that because, for example, it is the SR flip right there. It's not very visible. SR flip right there, but my point being was, and I'm not saying that just now, right? I was saying that at these lows as well, when everyone's freaking out. I said, I don't think we should get there. I don't think we will get there. So far, we haven't. Doesn't mean we won't. So far, we haven't. And I think, personally, this bottom is looking very nicely. It's shaping up very nicely so far. Because, let me check. Yeah, I mean, also from a PA perspective, it's starting to look nice. We're starting to form a base here on the lower time frame. We'll get into there. But so far, to recap everything, we were looking for an intercycle top around the Trump inauguration. We got that. We were looking for a retrace and a bottom to be formed in between 87 and 73K. We hit that target. And now we see price slowly starting to reverse, or at least showing signs of exhaustion on the downside. And that is exactly what we want to see. So we also have confluence, by the way, before I continue, and then I have to actually, I think I already have them mapped in my chart. So what I said a while ago, let me see if I can find that, because I haven't been that active on Twitter. It's just, man, when I'm busy developing and I really see the next version that's going to be so much better, I just like to go full monk mode, really, and that's why I disappear on X. And it's just that I'm still there, but I'm grinding hard to get the next version out. But here I said, as price was leaving 90K low, what I said was, during the last year's range, price left the P2 zone, the weekly P2 zone, we know these, 3 times to the bottom. All 3 were good buy areas for at least a significant reversal. Last 2 were pretty much on the bottom. So this was in the last range of the 2024 range. So we see that price left the P2 zone here to the bottom, had a significant reversal. And here, these 2 times that it left, price had another reversal. But my point being on that one is saying that all 3 times were good buys, right? All 3 times were good buys. Because even if you bought here over the long run, not that bad of a buy, this must have been like 60K or something. This great buy, right? That's my point. I'm not saying you can long there, stop loss at the low and hold it forever. No, but in general, I mean, you would have had some great swings. But in general, if price leaves the pivot zone on the downside, it's a good buy. The reason I believe this is happening is, I mean, you probably already know these reasons, but we know that only 20% of price action leaves the weekly pivot zone to the downside. especially in the bull market, this is very significant, right? Because we're bullish higher time frame, and I am still bullish higher time frame. I know there's a lot of thought on Twitter. I'm not a part of it. Probably a little bit less now because we had a bit of a bounce, right? Because spot is always the sentiment's always lowest at the bottoms. But if you're high time frame bullish, as I am, and you see price have a drastic move to the downside, so basically whenever price leaves these zones, that's a statistically unlikely, like a statistically very drastic move to the downside, right? Not a lot of how do you say it? Not a lot of weeks go that far down to the lows. So this happened again, and I'm saying this because it's confluence for ID, right? So that's why I was saying, okay, these are interesting levels to look at. So we slap on our pivot zones. Let's see if I save the weekly ones. Yeah, there it is. And just looking at this. So here, once again, and we did it here as well. We had like a decent bounce, but obviously went down further. It's pretty much the same as what happened in that last one, right? Where the first one, we left it once, but then came back and twice left the pivot zone at the bottom. I'm not saying that's a pattern, but it's interesting. Here it happened again, right? So this is when I noticed everyone about it. Last time we left the pivot zone, it was a good buy area. You can see that, this immediately in that bottoming area. And my belief that why this works well is that this really showcases A, liquidations, B, mass fear, and probably C, algorithms, probably a lot of it, algorithms taking advantage of that sentiment shift, right? A lot of stop losses being hit, lots of breakdown traders shorting this. But you can see that also right now, this is once again, so far already a great buy, because even if you bought here, you could have taken it all the way up here, but here again, like this low got slightly taken out, but only ever so slightly. So if you look at it again on the realm of, was it a good buy? If you bought here, especially if this continues higher, which I think there's a good chance of it, that we're going to bottom somewhere within here, then once again, this was a great buy, right? And once again, I explained all that because I do think that's to do with the liquidations of everyone involved and the sentiment shift, right? So we have all these confluences right now that I laid out on the high time frame uptrend, the bottom within the area we were looking at, and also the weekly P2 zones left to the downside, which does not happen a lot in a bull market at all, even less than 20%, I would say. So long story short, looking pretty good for a bottom there, right? I'm not saying this is the bottom, but I do think it could be the bottom or we're very close. But the reason why I'm saying I'm not sure if this is the bottom, could very well be. I mean, this is a very good area, but because we're in a local range right now, and then we come into the next part as we slowly move our way towards the intraday and more to the statistics as well, is if we have here, this is not even the cleanest of structure, but this is kind of the structure we had, and we can see that at this point, price here try to continue this local structure, right? Local structure, not high time frame structure, because this is just internal structure, right? People always mistake that. It's an internal structure, meaning that it doesn't break this higher time frame structure, because everyone here is like, oh, we're in bearish structure. Locally, this is true, but higher time frame, it is not. And then what happens here is that we have this significant low. We try to break it, but we don't. And then we go back up again. And as you might remember, I was already calling for a range somewhere around here. I was saying, okay, we're gonna have a range. You probably have seen it. I'm not gonna recap it, but we're probably gonna have a range. And I've also laid out all the reasons why I thought the range was likely. So go check out the old post. But indeed, now we're having this range. So then very simply, what you have to do is trains the range until it breaks, right? That's why here, a couple of weeks ago, I think my last post before I went on the ski holiday, I posted in the Brighter Data Discord, I'm looking for a reversal back to 90K. The reason being is that, everyone's freaking out at that point, everyone's screaming for lower, but it was pretty obvious that we were going to range for a while. My theory for that, which I also gave in, I think, the last stream a while ago, is that this whole cycle we've been ranging a lot, right? So if you're just assuming that you're going to keep ranging, more often than not, you're going to be right. So it's honestly not that genius of a call. It's just a very simple probabilities, especially in this environment. Just assume you're going to be ranging, and most likely you're going to be right. It really is that simple at the moment on the general sense of environment. But that means that here I was looking for upwards towards 90K. We didn't reach 90K yet. That's why I have it right there. And I also have 80K marked out because 80K is just an important support level. As you can see right here, it's obviously a psychological level. Tapped it here, bottom there, and tapped it here. And that's why I do like the way this bottom is shaping up from a PA perspective. Low, swept that low, retest here. Now moving our way back up. Looking pretty good, right? Looking pretty good. But clear range, so that means that when we reach range highs, that's when it's time to get bearish again, in my opinion. Does that mean I will get bearish? So if price gets here, does that mean if I will get bearish all the way here? No, I don't think that will happen. I'm personally biased that the range lows will hold. This is also what I said in my last stream that I did, somewhere around here, where I said, okay, probably going to range for a bit. Something like this would be much more viable, in my opinion, where we have another rotation towards the lows. If at all, we don't even have to, but definitely possible. But eventually, no matter how long we range here, it is my belief that this range will reclaim itself back to the upside and then go for the highs here, because that's also one of the things I have said, that these kind of highs, this is not what the top looks like. This is not what a top looks like. That's not what a top looks like, in my opinion. So now we're just, very simple recap. High time frame, we're trending up, right? We're trending up, and we are currently in the retrace stage. And then I'm going to get into statistics, but I just want to have the high time frame picture clear. So we're trending up. Then we started retracing. This was our retrace target, right? Right here. So price should not get there. We have so far a nice bottom. Now on the lower time frames, price is ranging very nicely here. And that means that we get bearish at highs and bullish at lows, right? That's simple. So right now is not the time to become overly bullish again. That time was here, and we were bullish there, right? We did say we're going to look for 90K. We didn't reach it yet. I do think price will reach 90K before it will reach 80K if I would have to make yeah, I do think it could do that. I do think it could do that. But we'll have to see. You can see kind of this local structure here. And this is not very good structure. This is. But also, this is not too convincing. And in a range, I pay less attention to structure, but you do see a high highs, high lows right there. And now we're building this base here. And that brings us into the here and now, right? So now we went from the higher time frames, zooming in into the current place and time. And then the question is, okay, what are we going to do now? Well, we know we're in a range, right? We know we're in a range. And what I like to do most in a range is simply, and let me get this indicator. Let me fill this indicator with some new data. As long as price is in a range, then you're looking for mean reversion plays. So you're not really looking for continuation plays at this point, because if you're in a mean reverting state, then it's just better to assume that price will reverse rather than continue, right? It really is that simple. And this is very, very evidently a mean reversion state. You see that, even on this move up here, so this is clearly upward sloping price action, but even then, the moves up are short-lived and retrace, move up, short-lived, retrace, move up, short-lived, retrace, right? So if I look at this from a price action perspective, I mean, this was actually a pretty nice area, but anywhere here following that would be great to get into 90K, right? That looks pretty clean. Get something like that, one more sweep. That's something I would be interested at. But first, what I want to do, because the main trade is obviously There, the main trade is going to be at the edges of ranges. So what I like to do in ranges is look at the pivot zones and do exactly the same as what we were doing previously. So if you look at, and once again, this is where you combine, you're only interested in trading good levels, right? So I'm not looking at when this happens at uninteresting levels. So let's get the range on, which is either very area low. There we go, the very area low right there. Let me get some stuff off. There we go. So similarly, I would love to see good areas being hit on the edge of pivot zone. So for example here, oh, that's the wrong one. For example here, the edge of the pivot of the P2 zone was hit to the downside, right? At range low, and this is the most important part, right? It's actually a logical area to take trades from. Then this one I discard because it was a weekend, so I'm not paying attention to it, even though it worked. But I just don't trust Sundays that much. Here's pretty much the same thing, very area low, move up, hit the P2 high above the P2 zone, right? Move down, weekends, don't take this into account. Well, here it didn't happen. But basically what I'm looking for is that I'm hoping for a drastic move up into this zone right here, right? These zones, because that would indicate exactly the same thing. It would indicate liquidations, it would indicate a possible reversal. It's usually those kind of reversals. The reason also why this happens, it's actually a really good safeguard against shorting, against slow grinds up. So for example, what you often see is with this kind of price action, and then people short they short here, then they short here, then they short here, then they short here. But you don't want to short the slow grind up. If you wait for the edge of a pivot zone to be hit on a mean reversion trade, that by definition means it's no longer a short grind up. So even if you're, because here I personally wouldn't very much short this aggressively right now, maybe on lower time frames, but not on this time frame. If you see this, there's no short, and then bam, suddenly this, then there's an inefficiency, and these kind of candles more often lead to that reversal that you're then looking for, right? So that's basically what you're looking for. So very shortly put, what I'm looking for right now is very, very, very simply the edges of these pivot zones being hit on the edge of this range. But in this case, the edge of these P2 zones. So once again, this is where only 20% of days reach, right? Only 20% of days reach the edge of this pivot zone. So if we get there, it means we're highly extended, statistically extended, right? Not just any guess, only 20% of days get there. And then we're looking for rotations towards the lows again. But I would rather wait, or not wait, but I would not take that. Once again, I want to emphasize, I'm not even going to draw it because then someone's going to think wrongly of it. I would not expect that to be a bearish retest and go all the way down, right? I think it's safest to assume that this is going to range for a while longer, followed by a reclaim of the high time frame range, and then followed by higher. But in the short term, waiting for this, and if price does get lower, right, then this point of control is very interesting. And if it gets even lower, then the same thing holds. You're looking for a move outside of this pivot zone, or at least at the edge of it, right? Because here also price is very much far into that pivot zone. So this is probably where only 30% of P2s get. And that's also already a good sign of exhaustion. But in general, you do want to see price hit the edges of these pivot zones, or at least get close to it before a significant reversal happens. I mean, backtest it for yourself. This is usually what happens. But you probably already know this if you've been using pivot zones for a while. All right, let's quickly hop in the chat. Oh, let me say one more thing, by the way, one very important thing before I finish my line of thought. Bitcoin, that the most important level right now to reclaim is 90.8K, right? Which is the previous range low. So, if this happens, if this happens where it's off to the races, right? This will be very, 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 very bullish. And this is actually also something I have said a while ago. Where is that? Already before we lost that 90K low. Yeah, so here I was, so this is all part of the plan, right? So here I was calling for it in the stream. I was saying, okay, that we're looking for that loss of the range. Well, we went a little bit deeper, right? But the idea remains the same. And I said it here that there was lots of liquidity still resting on float. Taking it out would be the most bullish scenario, in my opinion. And the reason why I say the most bullish is that I would not have if price would have just done this, I would not have believed that price would have had the enough fuel to keep going to the upside, right? This would not have happened. Whereas if we get there now, we come there from a place of strength. We have capitulated a lot of people. We have gathered a lot of liquidity. And then when price gets up here, I mean, you kind of have more or less the same idea as here, right? Where you take out these lows drastically, and then you go up to the highs, and then you just smash them, right? So if price reclaims 90.8K and then goes, well, let me put it like this. If price reclaims 90.8K, I do believe that range highs are next, and I do believe range highs will break. That's what I think, right? It's the same as last cycle. So far, still bullish, still looks good. Right now, looking for range extreme trades. Personally, not active at all. I'm just high time frame right now, taking some swing positions, but I'm positioned right now and waiting or developing the dashboard as we go. What's up, Hori? Good to see you, man. How you doing, dude? Mother Gorgeous, for P2 reversal trades, how do you enter trade? Is it when price comes back into the P2 zone? I mean, it really, there's no easy answer to it. It really depends on how do you say it? It really depends on your system. You have to have a mean reversion system. And whatever the triggers that fit your mean reversion system, that's how you should enter. And I know that's a very vague answer, but for example, if we dive a little bit more deeper into it, because for me, for example, what I use is I use these pivot zones on the weekly time frame most often, and then my strategy is to simply, if it reaches it, so that's what happened when Bitcoin reaches the bottom, I just bought spot. I'm laddering in, and my strategy is to ladder in, right? So I'm not setting a trade with a stop loss. I'm just because at the moment I'm only active on swing positions. I'm laddering in. So for example, let me actually take the weekly right there. I can show you what I do, but it really depends on your trading system. So what I do here, as soon as this happens, I started laddering in, right? This is laddering in, and that means DCA. So I'm not just all in going here. So I'm generally waiting for a bit. Here I was laddering in because there was a nice area. It's also like in confluence with your TA, but I start laddering into positions, and every time price kind of reaches here, I ladder in some more. And then for me, this is a long-term hold, right? This is a long-term hold for the remainder of the bull market. So I'm holding this for the long run. And it is also, for me, I'm playing this without a stop loss because it's a spot hold. And I do have high conviction that we're going to go higher. If not, if we're going to go lower, then, worst case scenario, I have to hold it through the next bear market, which is fine with me. But obviously, if you're trading, you have different set of circumstances. But if you're doing it on let me check the daily ones. If you're doing it on the daily and you're looking for the reversal trade, then you could apply a similar style, but that style is not suitable for everyone, right? So that's why I say it really depends on your system. I know there's some really good traders in the BD Discord, so you can ask them how they use it. But in general, you want to combine it with whatever strategy you already have in place, right? So you could choose here to start DCAing, obviously more aggressively because you're on the lower time frame, but you can also simply wait for what I would do on the minimum is a breaker structure, right? So if you go here, so if you go here, then this is clearly the structure. Yeah, you could take this as the last structure point at the minimum, right? At the minimum. So if you break this, because you have this very, very local time frame structure, where you break this, and that could be a confirmation for you. But the main thing is that you need to use pivot zones in confluence with your TA, right? I always say this, always use them in confluence. So if you're waiting for a level to be hit, and in this case, this is range lows. This is what I was looking at, more or less at level. And this one was more aggressive, I would say. But if you're waiting for this level to be hit, you're already waiting for this level. Leaving the P2 zone is extra confluence, right? Because if it would happen, I don't know, we probably have that somewhere. I want to make that clear. Where did price leave the P2 zone? I'm looking for a way where it did not reverse here. There, it did reverse. Here, it also reversed. Yeah, this is maybe a good one. It reversed a little bit, but actually reversed a little bit, but here it reversed as well. Here, I'm looking for one where it didn't really reverse. Well, let's take this because this is the best example we have. Here, it did not reverse too greatly, right? It did not reverse too greatly because what you're having here is obviously you have context, and this is not a level this is not a level where I would be shorting massively, right? Because you just came from range lows, you move back up into the range, and then yes, you can have a small term retrace, which is what we had in the retest of the 80k level actually. But in this case, I would not be taking a big short here because obviously here you're on the sign of strength. We're already looking for a range, right? This is the context. We're looking for a range. So we go down range lows, head back into range highs. That means for the context, you're at range lows, just reclaimed range highs, which is obviously not the place where you want to be looking for massive shorts. So in this case, what I'm saying is that yes, price left the P2 zone, but the context and the place is not right. So that's the most important thing, that you always combine it with context and place. As for your entry strategy, once again, really depends on how you're trading. If you're trading the lower time frames, the daily, and you want to use stop losses, then yeah, unfortunately, there's many answers because there's many different strategies. But at the minimum and the simplest would be a break in structure on the lower time frames, as I just showed, right? So in this case, price is leaving this like this. I would never short here because this is just slowly trending down, or never long. But then here you have that acceleration, and then price comes up, reclaims it. And then this could be an interesting trade to look at and enter along, because here you have more confirmation. Here you have more confirmation. But in general, my personal preference at the moment is just laddering in. But I know that's not a trading style for everyone. But that's what I do. I just ladder in right now. Hori, hey, all good. Just got back from the pool. I'm curious. No need to cover bearish side, as long as all point bullish. But I'm curious, where would you start having doubts, and where would you pivot bear? Good question, brother. When we reach 74 or 72k, then I will. That's also what I've posted and stated publicly. If we reach the zone where I do not want to go, price should not get in here, then I will reevaluate things. I'm not saying I will go full bear here, as in, okay, the bear market is here, but if price gets here, if there's not a super fast, significant recovery, like almost V-shape, then I would, at the very least, assume that this consolidation, or that there's at least going to be a much longer consolidation. We're talking about months. But at the moment, until this gets reached, I'm not occupied with that. But that's the hard validation for me, literally hard validation, invalidation of the bull idea, where I'm like, okay, then at least the super bullish idea is invalidated. So that's where 74, 72k. And I think you're looking at the same thing, right? So, all right, then let's see if we can find anything interesting in the lower time frames. So let's start with this. Let's start with this. right? So P1 on Monday and P2 on Monday, which is no real edge, right? We already know that. I mean, man, I'm really aching to release the new dashboard because you might be able to get some more information out of it than what we do now. But I just don't want to tease it yet. You will see it as it gets there. But we would be able to get some, or I'm already able to get some more actionable information out of it. It's going to be really cool. It's going to be really cool. But you have, we know that Monday is a popular pivot, but right now both Monday and or the P1 and the P2 are on Mondays. So since we know that 60% or something of Monday is put in a P1, what we can do, let me just wait for this data to load. 61%, a little bit more lately, but on the decline. This is what we were expecting, actually, right? I don't know if you remember, but in December or something of, somewhere here, literally on the top, I predicted this would take a downturn. I predicted that Monday would see less P1s because of this. It's cyclical. It's cyclical, and that's happening right now. But in general, right now, there's no real actionable strategy here. And the reason is the following, is because P1 is Monday, P2 is Monday. I mean, P1 is at our midnight. Oh, that's interesting. P2 is at our 12, which is London. Let me see what time exactly that was. No, New York. Okay, so both, New York. So both are good pivots. If you see P1 Monday, P2 Monday, and clearly a local range, because this is clearly another local range, then my immediate thought is there's no clear direction here, right? There's no very clear direction because we are simply ranging. We're ranging very tightly, which means that price will start looking for liquidity. Liquidity is here. Liquidity is here, right? This was not that big of a liquidity grab. So honestly, this could happen. This could happen. Right now, it's either or really for me. So I also don't like the way this pivot looks. This Monday P1. I always say you want it to look like an actual pivot. This Monday was put in this Monday P1 was put in like here. What you would prefer to see is something like this and a P1 at least close to it, right? We don't have that. So my bias would be to take out that low, but regardless, because we're in this range, honestly, really the same thing goes once again, is that you're just looking for these range lows to be taken, range highs to be taken, and trade it from there. Now, if we look at the weekly pivot zones for a bit, just to look at the lower time frames. Get that one on. Let me get the weekly one on. Yeah, when we're this compressed, I would not expect price to hit. When you're really ranging, what often happens is that price just ranges in between the P1 zone when you're really contracting, right? Which is what's seemingly happening now. I mean, which day is it today? Thursday. So I wouldn't be expecting price to leave this P1 zone at all that much. But if I would look at this now, then I would say most likely, because since this is still in the P1 zone, I would not find it weird at all for price to do this, and then maybe followed by a move back up towards the heights. But it's very hard to say it right now because both are in logical areas to put in a pivot, right? A P1. This would be a good P1 in terms of place. This would be a good P1 in terms of place. But I do think this one looks a little bit better than this one because of the price action. Therefore, I will say, okay, since this is a good area for a P1, we're in this local range. What you basically want to look for is for at least this to be taken out. And then, I guess the weekend lows are here, probably look for those weekend lows. I think Yip was also looking at the weekend lows. But I do believe downside is limited. I do believe bulls are stronger at the moment. So I would love to see that 90K level hit before I take any really drastic action. All right. Corey, yeah, I believe that daily and weekly on the 75 will give 69.4. Agreed. And best case, we have like 6 months of sideways. Agreed. All the time. I'm more focused on ETH, and I'm afraid we might see 3 digits if this Bitcoin scenario plays out. Agreed. And I would also be afraid of that as an ETH holder. But yeah, for now, I don't see a reason to think. I do think ETH might go a little bit lower, but yeah, we'll have to see it as it gets, right? If we have to have invalidation, let's see if 74K hits. I completely agree with you. Then best case scenario, 6 months of sideways. The only exception to that if we hit to 618 and really drastically reverse up, but that's obviously a freak occurrence. Anil, morning monster of the universe, logged on at 4:48 a.m. to catch this live. Street Dog, what's up, dude? Amazing, man. Shout out to you, dude. David Goggins would be proud. Happy to see you here, man. Thank you so much for waking up that early. I'm not that of an early bird myself. Hope you find it useful. Right, nonetheless, 1st of May, I'm back to brighter data and we'll know in advance. Amazing, man. Love to see it, dude. I think the 1st of May, let me see, that's 1 month. Yeah, you're gonna be happy because the platform will be renewed, the platform will be better, there will be better UX, there will be better way of insights. I'm really I just really want to spoil everything, but I'm not. But you're gonna be happy with what you see. It's gonna be much more usable. All right, so conclusion for Bitcoin is that I expect, for now, high time frame, I expect more upside. Lower time frame, I expect a little bit more downside. Right? I don't think this is looking too great at the moment for continued upside, and it looks, this weekly high that I discussed look like shit. Let's see what the daily statistics are saying now. We go to the summary page. Oh, this is the weekly. I was like, why is that bullish? Shouldn't be bullish. There you have it. Bitcoin bearish. Well, we're definitely going to see more displacement, right? 98 days. Oh, current P2 hour 11. All right, so we're definitely going to take that one out. I know that by heart. Let me show you why. Oh wait, what am I doing? I need this one. Put that on. I think we're already almost taking it out though. Oh yeah, it's already gonna go. Because I mean, you can already see it here. It's been 162 days since hour 11 was a P2. And a P1 is also very, very low occurrence. You can see it here. I think the servers are having a bit of a field day now. Normally it's much faster. You can see here, hour 11 puts in it. Hour 11 is really probably the shittiest intraday pivot you can find on Bitcoin, at least. Only 1.7% of time does it put in P1 and 0.7% of time does it put in a P2. So hour 11 is almost rarely a pivot, you know. So if you're looking to long this and you see that hour 11, that's not a good idea, right? But that's oh, what's up, dude? The composite trader. Shout out to Lars, man. Thank you, dude. Appreciate it. Shout out to Lars. You're killing me, brother. Nice to see you here. Yeah, the pivot zones are nice. I am manifesting TCT X Unoma, my friend, or Brighter Data. Sorry, I'm regressing in my old name. At some point, you will not have a choice anymore, Lars. Good to see you here, man. All right, but so hour 11 is just if you're thinking about long this, forget it. Like it's a really shitty pivot, right? Hour 11 is very, very, very bad pivot. So you're gonna take that out, and then it's very likely, in my opinion, that the high is gonna hold for the rest of the day. Like yes, you could put it in here, but this is like what 10, 17, like 20 something percent. Only 20% of days would put in a pivot like this and go up, right? So that's one in five. You would have that. Given all the rest that we discussed, I'd prefer to wait for a little bit lower, right? So you would expect this one to hold for the rest of the day, and then look for albeit lower prices. And then you can look here. You can see that. I mean, pretty much 90 something percent of P2s happen later in the day. So we're probably looking for lower in the day. Then also, if you look at the distance statistics, we already saw a bit of that. 98% of days see more distance than what we've already had. So clearly price is going to displace further. If not the low, then the high, but we've already established that the low is more likely to go. So lower it is, right? We're looking for lower prices. Yeah, man, I'm really I'm so eager to show you the new dashboard. If I'm using it, because I'm using the new dashboard personally, right, to develop, and I'm like, really want to show that. So I'm gonna work hard on getting that ready. I see we're already 51 minutes in. All right, guys, then I'm gonna leave it at that. I hope you found it valuable, and that you know my high time frame views. So high time frame, I'm looking for higher prices. Mid time frame, so this time frame right here, I'm looking for ranges, right? So simply looking for reversals at the high, reversals at the low. So this, since it's a very area high, it makes sense to reverse a little. But the main high for me is 90K. This would be the best one, in my opinion, for a proper short, but doesn't mean we have to get it, right? That's not a rule of law. Low time frame. So here I'm expecting lower prices for the day, and we'll take it from there. So those are all my biases laid out. And yeah, man, the composite trader large. One more thing, I think those TCT models work really well in Confluence with pivot zones. So I'm definitely interested in exploring that further, but we'll definitely be doing that at some point. All right, guys, I want to thank you very much for paying attention. I promise the content is going to increase over the next few weeks as I finish up on the new dashboard and release it to you. New UX coming, new markets coming, right? So we're going to be able to trade gold futures, stocks, Forex is also coming. Index futures, unfortunately, not knowing ES and Nasdaq 100. There is going to be indexes, but just US data, so not the non-tradable index. Unfortunately, for now, we're going to be working on getting the futures, but yeah, that one is quite difficult to get commercial licenses on for redistribution. It's a shit ton of money, but we'll get it done at some point. But there is definitely going to be a lot of extra markets coming in. All right, guys, once again, thank you very much. Still bullish high time frame, still expecting a bullish 2025. So waiting for that, but for now, you must remain patient. Thank you very much. Any question you have, please drop them in the Discord, and I'll catch you on the next stream. All right, have a good one all. Cheers.